Welcome in to, dare I say, a special Friday edition of Sportball. I'm your boy Sam. It's a good day. I'm here drinking my two drinks, only two. I got water. I got a beer called Beer Hates Astronauts. Not sure why a beer would hate astronauts, but hazy IPA, Beer Hates Astronauts. That's what we're looking at
Classic.
here. So, how we doing? I'm here with my boys Seth and Kyle. Boys, we locked and loaded for the NBA playoffs.
Rarely have I been more excited,
Comes
except
around
How
once a
early?
every
year.
other year.
Every other, not every year. I got
You
the
know,
Every
good
I
year
stuff.
other
We
than this
broke
one.
we broke out the Weller 12 for the occasion.
Wow.
is that good?
That's good stuff. Yep.
What
And
are we
then
talking a bottle? I don't get out of bed for under 100.
yeah, it's probably right. I mean, it's impossible to find on the shelves. So,
Oh.
That's priceless.
yes. And then I to celebrate the weekend, I have my Easter ham as well.
Love that.
I don't know if it's like I don't know what it is, but I'm more excited for these playoffs than I feel like maybe I'm this excited every year and I just don't remember, but like it feels like such a slog during the NBA regular season sometimes, and like especially this year, I was feeling like maybe I like football better, you know?
Mm.
And then the
Really? I
basketball
thought
playoffs come, and I'm like, oh, never mind. Like this is the best part of the year, you know what I mean?
I don't know. I thought this NBA season was one of the best ones we've had in a while. There's just so many storylines, such crazy races, especially with how tight the West was. East, I mean, we got Detroit in a secure playoff spot, in a top six spot, with the potential with the final like 2 weeks of the season, they could have ended up in the fourth spot. Like it was crazy all around. The Bulls were the Bulls. They did exactly as we thought. I don't know. I
Yeah,
had a
the
I enjoyed it a lot.
The last couple weeks were fun, but there was like a definitely a post All-Star game malaise. I think the Luka trade actually helped a lot. Like that was just
Yeah,
that kept
spice
us
things
all
up
engaged,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah. But I'm very excited for the playoffs. I think we have a ton of good matchups, especially in the West, which we'll talk about. Um, we're gonna hit our NBA playoff preview Palooza, I'm calling it.
You call it
Pat
this every year.
Patent's still pending. And I figured we might give our awards for the season because, as you know, we have an official vote. Uh, so let's go over the playoff preview, each series. I listed them in order of most to
Can't
least
wait.
interesting, in my opinion, because I am the dictator of this podcast. So here we go. Buckle in, strap in. If you like NBA basketball, this is the place for you. In the West, first series I want to hit. You might be surprised. The Nuggets, the four-seeded Nuggets versus the five-seed Clippers. Every NBA nerd's dream. This is the closest series in DraftKings, who is our beloved sponsor. Minus 110 either way, last time I checked. Literally, DraftKings says we don't care. You pick whichever team you want. They're evenly matched. The Clippers were 18 and 3 down the stretch with a healthy Kawhi, looking the most like Spurs Kawhi we've seen in years. With Harden running the offense, Zubac getting boards, maybe the third best center in the league. Powell is the third scorer for them. They looked honestly like the second best team in the West down the stretch. Meanwhile, the Nuggets clawed their way to 50 wins. Jokic, just a casual 30, 13, and 10. Best player in the league with Jokic. Murray's back healthy, we hope. They're number 6 through number 10. Their depth, very questionable. Their coach and GM fired with three games
Nowhere to be
left in the
found.
regular season. So, this is a juicy, juicy matchup. Seth, I look at this matchup and I say, Jokic is the best player in the series. Can he carry this bench of, Westbrook and Pickett and Watson, and DeAndre Jordan? I mean, can he carry that to a win over this deep Clippers team? You know, Will Kawhi get injured at some point during the series? Will Harden choke as he often did? I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen in this series, and I really feel like it's a toss up. Which way are you leaning?
Yeah, I am leaning Clippers, but I definitely agree that it really could be anything. I think just about any outcome. I mean, I'd be a little surprised if like Denver swept, but other than that, I think I could imagine any scenario happening and I wouldn't be very surprised. Um, I mean, Jokic is gonna carry their team regardless, right? That for sure. The question to me is, will the surrounding pieces provide enough to slow down this juggernaut of a Clippers team that we've seen the last few months of the year? So, and yeah, obviously there's the Kawhi factor. I mean, we sound like a broken record. We're talking about Kawhi. It's been this for the last, whatever, 6 years. Like, who knows? He could tweak a knee in game one and not come back the rest of the series. Like,
He looks good though.
but he looks good right
He
now.
really looks good.
Really does.
So
So
you're leading Clips though.
I'm leaning Clips. I just feel like they're peaking at the right time and
Hmm.
Denver turmoil. I feel like at the end of the series, we'll kind of be like, okay, yeah, I mean, it was not Denver's year. They just fired the coach, everything going on. Jamal has been up and down. It was too much. And the Clippers were just been playing so well. We should have expected them to win.
Uh-huh.
Um,
What are you going, Clippers
sad.
in six?
Yeah, I think I picked Clippers in six. But, I wouldn't be surprised if Kawhi gets injured or the Clippers just kind of choke in some way. I mean, they're one of the more cursed franchises, so that wouldn't be surprising if Jokic just looked like on another level from everyone else on the court and they pulled it out. So that's why it's the most intriguing series.
Kyle, we know Jokic is going off, right? But I think really the key to why a lot of people are picking the Clippers is that they have all the things, all the tools to throw at Jamal Murray to lock him down. They have Chris Dunn. They have Derrick Jones Jr. They have enough wing defenders to really just bother Jamal and kind of take him out of the series. And that to me is really the pivot point. If Jamal isn't playing like an all-star, I don't think Jokic can win this series by himself.
I don't disagree. Um, the Clippers or Zubac has done really good job on Jokic this year. Now you look at his points and say, oh, he had 41 in one game, or he had 28, 14, and 11 in another. Okay. But Jokic averages like 12 post-ups a game or something like that. He's had 10 post-ups total across 3 games against the Clippers
Yeah.
this year. They don't even try to go at Zubac like that.
Right.
That's how good he is defensively. And like you said, they have all the pieces kind of around as well to stifle the rest of the Denver offense. There's been I'm completely lost my train of thought for a second, but um
Because did you see Jaws dunk? Is that why?
yeah, yeah.
That was
My bad.
ridiculous.
I know.
Yeah, I mean the Clippers, Kyle, you were saying basically the Clippers are a nightmare matchup where
Hmm.
they have one of the best bigs to guard Jokic. Nobody can shut him down. We know that. But
But they can at least single cover him, right?
yeah,
And if you double Jokic, it's death because everyone else gets going. So you can single with Zubac, he might still get 30 points, but in that way, you're not really letting the rest of the team catch fire, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think one of the big question marks was surrounding that Chris Dunn spot when it came playoff time too, um, as it relates to like what's the success that the Clippers can have in terms of keeping him or allowing him to stay on the floor.
He's been shooting though.
Exactly. Yeah. The last month of the season, he's really kind of caught his stride when it came to shooting. Teams are leaving him just completely wide open. They're not even bothering with him.
Right.
But he's shooting upwards of, I think, around 40% over the last month of the season from three, which is massive for what they can do. If teams are going to continue to sag off like that, and he's going to hit 35 to 40% from three, that's huge because defensively, he's one of the best guard defenders in the NBA that there is. Um,
Yeah.
can do a really good job against Murray. Um, and then if they're not going to sag off, and that just gives the rest of the Clippers offense even more space to work with. Um, I just think obviously Jokic is basically the best player in the series, but I think if we go through it, two through six, maybe two through five at least, two through six potentially, all fall on the Clippers side.
Yeah. I mean, it's really like it's honestly like I mean, you could say Jamal and Harden might be a wash, but like you go 3 through 10, it's not even close, honestly. I mean, like literally the Nuggets 6 through 10 is Westbrook, Pickett, Peyton Watson, DeAndre Jordan, and Julian Strawther. Like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
I don't like to be marching into a playoff series with that. I think the Nuggets are going to have to probably keep it tight to a 7 or 8 man rotation, and they're going to have to play their starters huge minutes because I don't know how many of those guys they're really going to rely on. I mean,
it's gonna
like,
have to be seven probably. Eight man might get
Yeah.
like 3, 4 minutes. Whoever's eight,
right.
Julian
Yeah.
Strawther or something maybe.
On the Clippers side, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Kyle, is Ben Simmons even playable in this matchup? I mean, we saw that last game against the Warriors. He played 10 minutes, went 0 for 0 from the field. Like, if he's not going to shoot, I just don't know if he's playable in this series. I think they might have to cut it off with with Derrick Jones, Bogdanovich, Batum, and call it a day there. And you can throw him
Yeah,
in from
he's an
time to time.
interesting one. Yeah, I don't know if he's really that necessary in this series, um, because of everyone outside of Jokic. I don't think is that much of a threat that can't be contained by the players and kind of the normal rotation for the most part. The one thing that I really liked about the Simmons signing was the fact that it allowed Harden to play off ball, but it also felt like over the second half of the season, as Bogdanovich started to come on, they began trusting him as well to kind of
Yeah,
run point a little bit
I'd
and
rather have
still
him out
allow,
there.
yeah, still
Yeah,
allow Harden to play off ball. So I don't think Simmons is going to be needed too much. But down the stretch, if we're going to, substitute after free throws in the final couple minutes of the game, I could definitely see him playing an important
defensively.
factor in that. Yeah, defensively.
Yeah, I think this is so interesting. I think logically, like every logical thing I know about basketball and I know about these two teams leads me to pick the Clippers. And I think I will pick the Clippers. Uh, but two things scare me. Number one, Nikola Jokic. Okay.
Number two, Nikola
Number
Jokic.
two, number two, Nikola Jokic's brothers. Uh,
Strahinja specifically.
no, number two, the Clippers are the Clippers, right? And we haven't seen them make this run, and something always seems to go wrong. But damn it, maybe this is the year. So I'm going Clippers in seven. Don't feel great about it.
Yep.
This is the one series where I've gone back and forth several times. I could have sworn walking in today I might pick Nuggets in seven. But and the fact that this series, some of them are going to be on NBA TV, this is the best series.
Well,
At
it's
least it's
great.
not ESPNU. I don't remember the number of games I picked, but I picked the Clippers as well. I've been high on the Clippers, I think, longer than any of our group has this year. But
Well, you were high on them as soon as they acquired James Harden, so
yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Well, the other thing we didn't even mention, dude, Ty Lue going against a first-time interim
yeah.
coach
Hmm.
is just a shark with blood in the water.
Yeah,
Yeah. That is a
100%.
big
especially with Jeff
factor.
Van Gundy by his side, dude.
Yeah, Van Gundy's a huge addition to that squad.
You got to give a huge coaching advantage to the Clippers.
Massive. I mean, I don't know if there's a bigger, well, yeah, I don't know if there's a bigger coaching advantage in any of the other
There
I don't
can't
think
be.
so.
series.
There's no way.
Uh,
I mean,
unless
Tyler's
Memphis
probably the
makes it.
best coach in the playoffs.
Right.
If
Up
Memphis,
there.
yeah, if Memphis wins tonight, then maybe there.
That would be a big one
That would be
for
it.
Yeah,
sure.
with
Yeah.
Dagnott and yeah, but
I
I
don't
think
even know
that's
who
it
the
though.
Grizzlies interim coach is.
You
Who's
this
just keep
that?
Finnish
talking about
guy,
how good he looks.
Oh, that hot
Tomas.
Finnish guy? Yeah.
He also never speaks. I just saw him speak for the first time in my life, but all the other camera shots, he's just standing there like with a straight face, looking at the court, like he
He
doesn't
looks
know
like
what to
he
do or say at any moment.
he looks like he skis a lot. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
All right.
I wonder. I saw a sort of off. It's off topic, but it's funny. There was a story that came out today from the MLB within the Atlanta Braves. They have Alex Verdugo, who they just called up to their MLB team,
Mm-hmm.
and he said today that he was really confused after his first encounter with his new teammate Marcelo Zuna, who I think a lot of people know he's one of the best
I've heard
hitters
of
in
him, so he must
baseball.
be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he found out that the only thing that he knows how to say in English is "I'm Ozuna from the Braves." He said I was asking him where the weight room was, and he just pointed down the hall and kept saying, "I'm Ozuna from the Braves," like he's some sort of Pokemon, is what he said. So it makes me wonder, is the Memphis coach, can he only say one
Mm,
sentence and that's all he knows how to say?
He just knows how to say I love to ski and that's it.
can't be rolled out.
All right. My second most intriguing matchup, the 3 seed Lakers against the 6 seed Timberwolves from Seth's home state where he currently resides. The Lakers are a minus 195 favorite. Seems steep, but Vegas knows everyone wants to bet on
Well,
the Lakers. So.
I don't know if you know how they make the lines, Sam,
I'd like Kyle to explain it to me
but
again.
it's actually so that they could make the most money.
Oh, I
Yeah.
never realized.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're not getting a lot of Timberwolves money, but I think this will be a good
Exactly.
series. I think it'll be a long series. I think we'll be back and forth. The Lakers, as we know, acquired Luka Doncic and been finishing strong since then. And in the playoffs, they're always going to have two of LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves on the floor for playmaking, but they also don't have a center, really, right? It's Jackson Hayes and Rui Hachimura in their rotation. Meanwhile, in the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards is going to walk into the series thinking he's the best player, and he could be on any given night, right? They're going to double him a lot, I'm sure, and they're going to rely a lot on Randall and McDaniels and Conley and Naw to kind of play make off of that. This is an interesting coaching matchup with JJ Redick versus Chris Finch, two kind of coaches who don't mind experimenting at all. And I think JJ Redick's going to throw a lot of weird defenses at the Timberwolves and, get the ball out of Ant's hands. So we'll see how Finch reacts. So, Seth, I think a lot of it's going to come down to Ant making the right decisions off of that double. It's going to come down to Randall making some plays in the 4-on-3 there. It's going to come down a lot to is Rudy Gobert played off the court. What do you think about this matchup? Do you think your hometown Minnesota Timberwolves have a real shot to take down the Lakers with Luka?
Yeah, it's always hard to take my bias out of it and figure out if they actually have a shot or if I just want to believe they do. Um, I was encouraged by that quote that we were texting about,
Mm-hmm.
um, where Ant is saying, recognizing like this might not be my series to take over, depending on how they guard me, and I think that'll do them well. Where if it's Ant tries to play hero ball, yeah, he might score 35, but it's going to be inefficient, and he's not going to let everyone else get cooking. So I think Ant has the right perspective on it. I think the real question for me is can Minnesota dial up the defense like they did last year?
Mm-hmm.
Will they pick up Luca, LeBron full court? Will they get in Luca's head?
Mm-hmm.
where they're just playing such good defense and swarming. Luka starts complaining about fouls, gets mad, whatever. And then the Timberwolves do enough, offensively to counteract. So, but I mean, there's a
Yeah.
reason why this is the second most intriguing series because I could see a lot of things happening, right? That's kind of the Minnesota scenario. But again, now you're betting against Luka Doncic and LeBron James, which,
Yeah.
yeah. And as we're talking, I'm like, wow. So starting off the bat, I'm betting against Jokic and betting against Doncic. I
And
don't know if
LeBron.
this is smart.
So you're picking the T-Wolves? You're ready to put your money where your mouth is there?
Yeah, I picked the T-Wolves in
I
In
our
think
what?
I did
friendly
too.
pool.
In
I need
seven?
to ask
Six? What are we
Nick.
talking?
I need to ask Nick what I sent him.
Well, I'm gonna change all mine before the games anyway.
I'm pretty sure I put
So,
Timberwolves as my first thought, though.
I put six
Kyle,
or seven.
you
I
want to
forget.
pick the
Seven, I
Timberwolves
think.
as well. For me, it's tough to pick against two of the top three half-court offense creators in our game today, and maybe, you know, top 10 all time, which I think is a huge advantage in the playoffs. But the Timberwolves do have certain advantages, right? Defensively,
Yeah.
size, that they could turn this series in their favor. So, what are the reasons you might be picking the Timberwolves?
It was a tough decision. And again, I'm still undecided. Like I'm not 100% going that route, but that was my initial thought. I think we saw a lot from Ant over the course of this year, in terms of his ability to play make when he was getting blitzed and doubled. He was the most blitzed player in the NBA this season.
Yeah.
And I really think that helps in terms of what he's going to see now as we get to the playoffs. That was one of the struggles I think we saw a lot in the playoffs from last year with him. Um, just not great decision making when those doubles or blitzes were coming. Um, so now he's had a full season of being the most blitz person in the NBA to kind of figure it out. Um, so I feel good about how Ant's going to be able to navigate the Lakers defense. Um, Outside of that, the bench for Minnesota is a much bigger factor in this than what the Lakers can possibly try to get out of their bench.
Hmm.
Um, there might be a night where I guess we see Gabe Vincent go 4 for 7 from three or something, but he's been
Yeah.
so inconsistent all year. I wouldn't count on it. Uh, the scary part is obviously Luca and
Yep.
LeBron on the other side. Um, Obviously, they just had this similar matchup just last year with Luca. Obviously, LeBron wasn't kind of his running mate then, but it was still Kyrie.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to contain. So I think they've had obviously a long time to kind of think about this specific scenario where there's a great possibility we face up with Luca again in the playoffs with Rudy still on our team. How do we approach this?
Sure.
Having that much time to kind of go through the scenarios and the things they could do to try to contain Luca. Um, Again, it's kind of splitting hairs. We know the greatness of Luca in the playoffs. We know the greatness of LeBron just in general.
Yeah.
Um, but I ended up siding with Minnesota just because I think they've shown a lot over the course of the year. Ant's shown a lot. Ultimately, they're so much deeper than the Lakers could
Hmm.
possibly be. LeBron
Yeah.
also seemed to potentially retweak that groin in like the last or the second to last game of the season.
Got a lot of
Who's to
rest though. He'll get a
say?
week at least.
Yeah, but who's to say he's going to be fully back? And I mean,
I think he'll be fine. He regenerates like Wolverine.
Sam is
yeah,
to say he'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
his physician.
There's no worries about the 40-plus-year-old guy that just tweaked something and then retweaked it over the course of the final month of the season. But we're all up in arms about Kawhi. So
Well, LeBron plays way more games than Kawhi, even at 40, so that would be
right, he
why
also
I'm more
hasn't had
concerned.
really many injuries. So
I feel like it's
He's
I'm
gonna,
good.
just saying, I think there's just as good of a potential for LeBron to retweak again his groin in the playoffs if he's playing 43 minutes a night than there is for something to happen to Kawhi.
I would disagree with that given Kawhi's injury history.
I
Okay.
mean, I think they're both fairly likely. I would still think I'd be more worried about Kawhi, but I agree that
Like it
LeBron's
shouldn't just
health is
not be a
worth
factor.
questioning. Yeah, it could be a factor.
I have heard your cases for the Timberwolves,
And I dismissed them out of hand.
and I like the Timberwolves, and I think they have a real shot, a real good shot, way more than Vegas is saying here to win the series. However, I have a simple personal rule, and it's just deeply personal, and it's that if one team has Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert, and the other team has Luka Doncic and LeBron James, I have to pick the team with LeBron and Luka. I have to.
Okay,
I would argue
And
with
defense.
that, to be honest.
I understand it's a team sport. I understand there's more than those two players on each team. But I really do worry about when Ant is doubled and those players had to make decisions. And I know they can't do that on the other end with Austin Reeves, Luka, and LeBron. They can't double any of those players because there's someone very, very dangerous on the other end of that pass. So that's where I lean. I picked Lakers in six. This is going to be a great series, though. And it could be, right? A little Ant coming out party, if they win the series as like, okay, I'm not just a top 10 player, like I actually might be better than Luca. I might be better than LeBron at this stage of his career. You know what I mean? I think that's definitely a possible outcome.
Ant is obviously the much better defender, so
Oh yeah. I mean, LeBron, he might turn it up in the playoffs and play some great defense, and I kind of expect him to.
they're
But
gonna need him to.
man,
That's their only shot.
100%. All right, let's
This
move
is
on
such
to
a
the
weird series, dude.
yeah.
Flip a coin. Flip a coin. That's your best bet.
Those first two series especially that we talked about,
I
and
was
even
so
this
much
one
more
we're talking
torn
about
on this
next.
one, the one than
Yeah.
in the Lakers one than I was on the Clippers.
I think the Clippers was more like my head versus my heart, which is always hard. This one is like my head and my heart don't even know. Let's go on to Rockets Warriors. You'll notice my first three intriguing series were in the West. Um, the Warriors are minus 190 favorite on DraftKings, almost as high of favorite as the Lakers, despite being the seventh seed. We know the reasons though. This is a championship team in the past, and they traded for Jimmy Butler this season. They basically don't lose with Jimmy and Steph on the court this season, and yet they still were in the play-in. Um, Pajemski and Moses Moody have kind of come on. Quinton Post and Payton have come on off the bench. Kuminga's gone. Forget about him. He's shipped. He's shipped to the end of the bench wearing his cutoff warm-up, never to see the court. Meanwhile, the Rockets are just the epitome of a fun young team that plays with such heart and such intensity, right? They have the great players to throw at Steph Curry. They have Amen Thompson, who might be the best player in the league to guard Steph. They also have Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet, who have had a history of guarding him well. And their big lineup with Alperen Şengün and Steven Adams has been dominant this season, but you don't even know if you can play that against Steph Curry. So I think this series really comes down to can the old wily Warriors win with better skill, better decision making, better late game execution? And can they outthink these younger, more athletic Rockets? And I think that's just a really intriguing matchup. Kyle, I know you're going to pick the Rockets. I know you hate Steph Curry and all that is the Curry family. So tell me why you're picking
He
them.
loves Seth, though.
That's true. I do. The better Curry brother. Um, there, Houston's been one of, if not top two defensive teams this entire season over the course of the entire uh, over the course of the entire season. Um, it's questionable, obviously, night to night, uh, if they're going to be efficient offensively, but they slow the game down to such a pace where it allows them to be inefficient yet still in a position to win most nights. Um, we just saw Steph get absolutely locked up by Amen Thompson just what 2 weeks ago. He
Three
scored
points.
3 points, 1 for 10 from the field.
And it
Um,
was like it was like a last second before the quarter heave. Like that's literally
yeah,
the only
yeah,
time he scored.
just over the half court line. Um, they have the tools to guard them well. They're going to play extremely physical. Um, I don't even know if it's a market. I'd bet money that Draymond Green gets ejected at least one game, probably Brooks too.
A
Um,
hundred
I
percent.
think one of the biggest differentiators here, though, is how the whistle's going to go. That last game against the Warriors, where Steph shot so poorly, there was only 11 total free throws taken by the Warriors. Or the most being by Jimmy Butler, but with only four. I mean, we just saw in that last playoff game that they had, or the play-in game against Memphis, Jimmy Butler, I think, had 18 free throw attempts. Um, if they're going to be calling stuff like that, I don't feel confident in Houston. But if we're going to get a playoff whistle where these teams are going to be able to play physical, I really like Houston's ability to control the pace of the game, slow things down. And Thompson is a top three defender in the NBA already at his young age, both
Mm-hmm.
on ball, but also his ability to help on defense or jump passing lanes or come off his man and get a block at the rim when
A hundred
someone's not
percent.
expecting it. It's incredible what he does. Um, you have some experience at least on this Rockets team when it comes to the playoffs. Dylan Brooks has been there before. Fred Van Vliet
Ime.
obviously has been there before. Yeah, and Ime, who honestly I don't even know what like the odds breakdowns are, but in my opinion, he's one of the top three for Coach of the Year.
He's
I
gonna be
don't.
on a lot of ballots on everyone's top three coach of the year. I think he's gonna be right in there.
Yeah, I mean, and he's got the experience. He knows, right? I love the fact that he shit talks Steph and Draymond, and you don't see that from other coaches. He's got Houston dialed uh, completely in. Everyone seems to have bought into the system. Any given night, Jalen Green can go for 30 plus.
Yeah.
Will it be every night? Probably not. But as long as he can get to 18 to 20, you can still have Van Vliet carry some load. And Şengün's just a monster on the boards in these games. The Warriors have absolutely no size, so it's going to be a dogfight. Ultimately,
What are you going like Houston and seven? What are you thinking?
I have
Because they have home
again.
court.
I know. Again, I don't remember the number of games. I said it was either 6 or 7. I think it's a dogfight,
Yeah.
but I took Houston ultimately.
Houston, Kyle, is like is the epitome of that saying, like they can't call them all. You know? Like they're gonna be aggressive, they're gonna be physical. Let's see how the refs call it. They're not gonna be able to call everything. Like we're gonna be really physical with Steph off ball, right? On those cuts he likes to do. And that's like a huge way to slow him down. Seth, are you are you siding with the veteran guile of the Warriors, or are you ready to take a leap of faith with your young Houston Rockets?
It's not even a leap of faith, to be honest. I think we're seeing now that the NBA is a young man's league, you know? And you could
Point.
say, what? LeBron's still excelling at age 40. Well, exception that proves the rule. But if you look at
Well,
it,
you
right?
also picked him to lose in the first round, so.
Exactly. And we're seeing a phase out, maybe slower than we anticipated, or some people would have thought, right? Of that era of player where Suns team led by Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, not even in the play in,
Mm,
right? You have some of these older stars starting to make way for the younger teams. And you look at the top of both
conferences. Celtics, young team, right? You've got a couple
Hmm.
veteran players. Cavs, young team, couple vets. So I think Houston is just a better team. I think I'm a little scared about the combo of Steph and Jimmy, and that if one of them isn't fully feeling it, or if Houston is able to
Hmm.
like shut stuff down, could Jimmy just get cooking? And he was very passive in that last game that y'all talked about, and I don't think he's going to be like that now that
Well, in
it's
the first
playoff
play-in
Jimmy.
game, I mean, he scored what, 38? Like we already saw kind of a glimpse of what playoff Jimmy might be
Exactly.
bringing.
Yeah. That being said, I feel very confident in the Rockets. I think they'll get the job done. I think that um, they aren't scared at all. I think they should be by far the favorite. And I think their athleticism is just going to be too much for Golden State to handle. And I think
Hmm.
they have multiple different ways where they can play, they can score against the Warriors. And I think the Warriors are kind of like, all right, if we don't have Steph, either Jimmy has to put the team on his back or we're gonna lose.
Hmm.
So I feel very confident in the Rockets. I pick them in six. I think I might even said five just to buck the odds.
Differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
I like that. I don't
I
dislike that at
like,
all.
once again, I've heard all of your arguments for the Rockets. And actually, I think this is another disrespectful line by Vegas to make the Warriors a minus 190 favorite. I think
Very.
there's no way this series is over in five unless the Rockets win in five. I think it's going to be a long series. I think it's going to be drawn out. I think the Rockets are going to beat up the Warriors. When push came to shove, I picked the Warriors in seven. And it might be
Noted
dumb.
Rockets hater, Sam Scully.
That's
May-
true.
Maybe I'm hanging on too long to the
I think
old
they had a
head.
first round ceiling anyways.
I said second round.
It was second round ceiling, but they're making the conference finals, so either way, he's gonna be wrong.
Maybe I'm overlooking the Rockets. I just feel like I don't trust their offense late in games. Maybe I'm hanging on too long. I'm fully admitting all my flaws here in this pick, okay? And I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong, and maybe I'm going to be wrong on this.
I look
I'm
forward to
just
it.
gonna place my I'm just gonna place my pick and my bet on Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, who have come through for me time and time again. And I just think that they're gonna out execute them in the final moments of the game. And I just believe in that more than Fred VanVleet trying a step back three with 30 seconds left in a tight game. And that's kind of what the tiebreaker was for me.
Yeah. For those
I think
keeping
they're over
track at
that though.
home,
Huh?
I think I don't think Van Vliet's the main guy
I don't
anymore.
think that's gonna be their go-to in crunch time. Yeah. Well, for those keeping track at home, so far I've bet against Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Steph Curry.
And
So,
LeBron
But
James.
and
the beauty of basketball is it's a team game, Seth.
exactly. That's
That's what
why.
people don't realize. Listen, those three are toss-ups. I could see them going either way. Now let's move to the East for the first time in my fourth most intriguing series. This one I had to move up because
Mm,
someone might be coming back from deep vein
Bucks Pacers,
thrombosis.
huh?
And I'm going the number four Pacers versus the number five Bucks. The Pacers came in a heavy favorite, but there's been news that Damian Lillard might be back midway through the series, making a miraculous recovery that was reported by Shams as if it was Trump's physician tweeting it out, saying that this is a miracle and this man is in the best health he's ever seen. So the Pacers are now down to a minus 165 favorite. And they're definitely the better team top to bottom. I think we can all see that. They have a solid 1 through 8, and Tyrese Halliburton's been looking sprightly like his old self lately, hitting threes, shooting his step backs. Giannis averaged another 30, 12, and 6 this year. Ho hum. And seems to just every time Dame's out put up 15 to 20 assists. It seems like, I don't know, I'm still skeptical that Dame will come back halfway through the series, but they're kind of dangling that carrot in front of me, giving me a little hope. Even if Dame comes back through halfway through this series. I think it's just a question of can Giannis carry the Bucks to this almost by himself with, a lineup of Kuzma, Lopez, Torian Prince, Bobby Portis, Gary Trent, AJ Green when he's up against a Pacers team that has Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nemhard, Benny Mathurin. I mean, they're just so deep. Nesmith, Toppin, TJ McConnell. They're just so much deeper than the Bucks. And Seth, I wonder if
Preach.
Giannis will probably win one or two games by himself, but I just don't think he can get this series done, especially if Dame is not coming back or limited coming back from this.
As you were talking about this, it really reminds me of the Clippers Nuggets matchup because
Hmm.
Yeah,
you've
that's a
got
good point.
this you
Right.
got this player, former MVP, multiple time MVP, carrying the team. You've got a guard who at times plays at an elite level, but a little bit unreliable with Jamal and Dame. Some of that is Dame's injury, not necessarily his fault, but true
Sure.
nonetheless.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you have this deep team. You've got one of the best facilitator passers in the league, Tyrese Harden. You've got a wing player, right? Obviously, Kawhi's on a different level than Pascal, but an elite or close to elite wing. You've got bigs who can hurt you, both sides. Miles Turner, obviously different player than Zubats, but and then a deep bench like both Clippers and the Pacers have. So I see the corollaries there, and I'll make the same argument that yeah, Giannis could take over and just put the team on his back and be unstoppable. But I think the Pacers are pretty well equipped to keep him somewhat in check.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think their offense is going to be too much for the Bucks. So I'm going Pacers. I think I said six, maybe five though. Dame could win him a game.
I don't think Dame's
Wow.
even coming back.
Yeah. Is
He
Dame
may
coming
not.
back?
I
I'm
don't.
skeptical.
It makes zero sense.
It might be one of those if they lose the first couple games, it's like it's not worth it.
Like with the Giannis thing, that's what happened last year, right? There was,
Right.
hey, maybe Giannis comes back game 3, 4, but
And I wonder if they're just kind of posturing to make Indiana prepare for Dame playing, and he's just not actually going to
even if he
play.
comes back, like what's he playing? He's not playing his full allotment of minutes. I just don't get. I understand it wasn't like a basketball injury or anything like that, but with the DVT, you're not staying like up to par on your workouts. You're not working out at all. You're not
Right.
exerting the physical energy like that because it's literally
Yeah.
lethal. He could have
Right.
died. So
Right. Yeah. How can he be playing basketball through you? Because I mean, it just doesn't really make sense to me.
me neither. That's why I took Indiana as well. They're just like Seth said, top to bottom, the better team. On any given night, they're not probably going to have the best player on the floor, but
Hmm.
I don't think it matters. I don't
No.
know who's stopping Halliburton. Um, who like it's just besides the Giannis matchup, there's
Yeah.
just Indiana has it everywhere else.
I
Much
think
deeper bench, obviously too.
100%. I think there's a real chance Giannis averages, 33, 12, and 7 or whatever
Yeah,
in this series, and they still lose. I picked Pacers in six. I figured Giannis somehow gets them two games, on his shoulders himself, and then the Pacers 2 through 9 win the rest of the games, right? Um, so I think it's kind of weird that the Pacers are a minus 165 favorite when to me this seems like a clearer series than anyone we've talked about before. But I'm sure a lot of people wanted to be on the Bucks with the news of Dame Lillard maybe coming back, so that has a lot to do with it. But I think the
yeah.
Pacers win this series. Let's go on to the second most intriguing East playoff matchup: the three-seeded Knicks against the six-seeded Pistons. The Knicks a minus 400 favorite. Very disrespectful to your Detroit Pistons. The Knicks have a healthy Brunson back from his injury, just right back to scoring 25 a game. Seemed like Tibbs was like, I know it's your first game back, but why don't you go ahead and play 40 minutes? Thank you. Um, just an incredible starting five, right? Brunson, Hart, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Cat. Like, man, I might make that starting five in a lab if I'm trying to surround Brunson and Cat, which are two offensive players that at the fulcrums are poor on defense. That's kind of the lineup I would make, right? With Hart, OG, and Mikal on the wing. Meanwhile, your Pistons, Kyle,
I mean, I think
you
you
got
could
to
come
hand
up
it to
with
him.
some better ones, but maybe under the salary cap restrictions.
I'd like to get onto the second apron if I can, so
Yeah.
we're not made of money over here. Um, your Detroit Pistons, Kyle, scrappy. Great story. Tripled their wins from last year. Cade Cunningham cements himself as a top 15 player in the league. Mikal Beasley coming off the bench, basically Klay Thompson if he played off the bench without the defense. We don't need that. I think there'll be a lot of doubling Cade in this series, right? There's no Jaden Ivey. He's still out injured to kind of take the load off of him. And listen, I think the Knicks are favored for a reason, but they're going to come out of this series bruised and battered. There's a high probability of some sort of brawl. Just say that right now. Um, are you going to make the case for the Pistons, Kyle?
No, I know I mentioned to you guys that I was worried, but I thought about this obviously a decent bit. Uh, I could see Detroit stealing a game, but I don't think this goes more than 5-6 at the worst. The Knicks have the experience. They have obviously the depth. What a fun regular season that we've had from Tobias Harris, comparing it to who he was
Hmm.
replaced by in Paul George. But come playoff time, I just don't see really enough anywhere on the Detroit side to stop the different options that the Knicks have. And I think one of the biggest things too is that Brunson injury may have been um, more or less a godsend in the fact that like we saw for an extended stretch OG Anunoby kind of take over for the most part. He was averaging like 25 a game at all levels, scoring from all levels. So I think they have maybe a little bit more belief in the the players around Brunson outside of just Cat to be able to perform offensively too, to not just feel like they have to rely on Brunson
Yeah.
the entire time from start to finish. And I think we
Yeah.
even saw it too. Like there was a lot of times down the last 3 weeks of the season where Tibbs was going to his bench a lot earlier. Josh Hart wasn't averaging 42 plus minutes. He wasn't even averaging 40 minutes a night. Um, I think that just shows a trust in the rest of the team to be able to kind of fill some voids that I don't know if we've seen from a Tibbs coached team in the past. Um, there's just too many problems and not enough answers on the Detroit side.
Felt like when Brunson was out, Kyle, like they were like, oh, Mikal Bridges did average 20 points a game in his career, and he can actually run some plays in offense. And oh, OG Anunoby, like he can bully ball down low, he can score, in a pick and roll. Like I think it really made them realize everything they could do without Brunson, and I think that's going to help them in the long term. Seth, you
Agreed.
picking the Knicks as well?
Yeah, I have the Knicks as well. I think I had 6 games for this one. It does feel like a classic one of those like feel good stories. Pistons come back from the worst record in the league,
Yeah.
make the playoffs, but then they kind of get a little reality check where, okay, you can still feel really happy about the season, but winning, beating this Knicks squad is a little bit of a different level.
Uh-huh.
But I could
Yeah,
also see them winning a couple games as
definitely.
we've all talked about. The Knicks have not been good against good teams this year.
Right.
And Cade
very well could be the best player in the series. So I could see them
Definitely a
being
possibility.
frisky, but I don't have the guts to pick them to win.
Nor me. I picked Knicks in six as well. I do want to give that respect to the Pistons. I think they can win a couple games, and we might sit here in a couple years and be favoring them in a playoff series with more with Cade getting better, with Ivy back healthy, with Duran getting better. We might see them in the top half of the
All-star.
East. Yeah, All-Star Thompson as well, the other twin. We might
Like you
see them
said,
at the top of the East in a couple
yeah.
years.
Like you said, I think it's a really good feel-good story for the regular season. They need to get their uh their bruises from the playoffs. We kind of saw, I think, a kind of a similar kind of scenario last year with Orlando. Bunch of young players. They fought hard in the first round matchup. Ultimately, they lost. I know that was a 7-game series, but um, yeah, I think they need to get their bruises. And obviously, Ivy's a pretty big um,
Yeah,
more or less a game changer for them. Because right now, it's like it's Cade or it's Michael Beasley or
yeah.
it's hopes and prayers from everyone else, and that's not enough to win a playoff series in the NBA.
Well, let's hit the last three series real quick. Seth, your Celtics, your two-seeded Celtics up against the seven-seed Magic. Celtics are minus 5,000 favorites in Vegas. Um, do you think the Magic can get a game?
No, I do not.
You're picking Celtics in four, huh?
Celtics in four, baby. Next.
I do wonder, Kyle, how the Magic are going to score against the Celtics and keep up with their scoring. I think,
I think you know the answer.
and the answer is Paulo and Franz have to combine for 75 a game, or is the answer Cole Anthony?
Precisely.
I think it's Celtics in five. I'm giving the Magic a game. There's
I
one
think I
game
did the
where the
same too.
Celtics can't hit threes. Cole Anthony has a little heater off the bench. Anthony Black, scrappy, gets a couple steals and buckets. Celtics in five.
I think I had the same. Um, Magic played Celtics hard during the regular season for the most part. But yeah, I don't know if anyone's picking the Magic to win this series, but I gave them the respect of taking a game.
It's kind of one of those series, Seth, where you guys are gonna win in five, but you're gonna be like, oh, we have a couple bruises and little injuries from this. They're kind of similar to the Rockets, where they really like they foul a lot, but they play physical.
Yeah, it'll be a physical series, but I also don't think it's going to be one of those like, we're so tired from the Orlando series. Now we have to go into round two. I'm not worried about that.
Do you have any worry about, not for the first series, but any worry about Porzingis getting injured at all? And I ask that because, again,
Yes,
everybody talks
100%.
talks about Kawhi,
That's my
and I
number
understand
one.
why,
That's
but
my number one worry.
nobody's talking about Porzingis in the same light where they're the same exact scenario.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think it matters for this series, but that's a huge thing to be worried about for these playoffs.
it's Porzingis and also Jalen Brown's knee.
Yeah, Brown, I was gonna
Yeah,
say, I don't think he's right.
I saw KG and Paul talking today that they're like they should just bench Jalen for the first round because they don't
honestly,
need him to win and just get that knee right. I don't think they're going to do that, but I could see him on a minutes restriction, and I hope that it's low. So,
you could just
um,
bench him for the first couple games, make sure you win the first two, and then you wouldn't have to bring him back at all. I mean, I might honestly be what I do.
yeah, I probably would do that. I don't think Joe Mazzulla is going to do that, but like I said, I could see him playing reduced minutes and
Limit
He hasn't
Porzingis
played over
too,
30 minutes in
right?
over a month.
there was some speculation too with the injury. Um, Many of those games the last few weeks he played like 20 exactly.
Yeah,
And
Right,
so
to
yeah.
they're like
get to be
maybe
eligible
he's
for the
just trying to get
awards.
him eligible
I
for
don't think that was
awards.
speculation. I think that's just the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think it made any sense. I mean,
He wasn't going to make
What's it,
third team All NBA anyway.
and what's it matter? Last year it mattered for his contract
Yeah, he already
extension,
has a
but
super max.
Yeah.
what's it matter now? I don't understand. I didn't understand that.
He's already the best played player who can't dribble with his left hand. So
Yeah. So I mean those are the concerns, but yeah, I think it's going to be true throughout the whole playoffs that the only team, with the possible exception of the Thunder, but the only team that can beat the Celtics are the Celtics, and
I don't think that's true.
whoa,
it's
yeah,
just
what
going
the
to be
hell?
injuries.
There's the Cavs, first of all, and then there's the Thunder.
I said possible exception of the Thunder.
I think the Cavs could beat you.
The Cavs could definitely beat them.
I mean, they
I
could.
think the Knicks could beat them. I think that Indiana could beat them. I mean, I don't.
Whoa. That's a bridge too far for me, but I see
Let's
where you're coming
let's be
from.
honest here. Last year,
Oh, here we go. Don't let him get into this whole diatribe. We're almost done with the podcast. You can't go on a
last year,
20-minute rampage about this.
I'm not. I'm just saying. Last year, that was one of the hardest series that Boston had in the entire playoffs. Honestly, there was some really dumb mistakes on Indiana's part, and to say that there's no chance that Indiana could beat them this year is just pretty crazy when they're playing at a they're playing better than they were last year. So
That was a competitive sweep, but it was also a sweep. And I just don't think they
there
have
were
any chance of
three
beating them.
games where Indiana lost it themselves. It wasn't I said it last year. It wasn't Boston wins. It was Indiana losses in the final minute of the game.
I do not think Indiana has any chance of beating Boston. I just like that on the record. But
I hope we get it.
the Cavs for
Is
sure.
that the second round matchup?
No,
Yeah, they're in
it would be
no,
Knicks.
because they're the four
Oh, it's
five, so
next.
that's gonna
That's
be
right.
Cavs.
Yeah.
Knicks Celtics will be tasty though. I'm kind of excited for that. So no one screw that up, please.
I hope the Knicks
Um,
look really good in the first round, and then I can make money off of Kyle.
they don't have to look good. You can make money off of Kyle right now.
I was just gonna say we could do it right now if you want.
All right, great.
You know where to find me.
All right. One last series that's set in stone. The Cavs, 1 seed against the 8 seed Miami Heat. First 10 seed to make the playoffs. Not surprising it's the Heat. The zombie Heat always rise from the dead, no matter what their record is. Um, does Miami get a game off Cleveland? It kind of feels like they might just, you know how they are. Kyle, they're gonna get a game, right?
Um, I think they can get a game.
They're only
I don't
minus
think they will.
2,500 favorites. They're less favorites than the Celtics.
Yeah,
I feel like the Cavs are locked in though.
I think so too. But I think saying Miami could win a game, I don't think it's some crazy stretch. All it takes is like Hero getting hot from three and Davion being way too much of a pest on Mitchell or Garland where they have an inefficient night, and that's about it.
It feels like I don't know, like I don't know the actual research for this, but it feels like there's a sweep every year in the first round. So I feel like it's either going to be so, Kyle, get IT on this. I feel like it's either going to be Celtics, Cavs, or the one series we don't know yet, which will be the Thunder against either the Mavs or the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies are up 17 at halftime
We had a sweep
on the
last
Mavs.
year.
I'm sorry, what, Kyle?
We had a sweep last year. One
Okay, good. Keep
sweep
going.
the year before, and was it
Good.
2023? 2022, we had a sweep Boston over Brooklyn.
Oh,
2021,
with that best end of game play of all time with that spin
yeah,
move.
yeah, 2021, we had a sweep Milwaukee over the Heat. 2020, we had three sweeps, Toronto, Boston, and Miami all swept their first round series.
Wow.
Uh,
I think
2019,
the one guaranteed sweep is going to be the
two
Thunder
sweeps as
against either
well.
of these teams. Like I just don't, I'm not sure if the Grizzlies or the Mavs get a game off the Thunder.
I don't think so. Looks more, again, we're recording, I think, at halftime now of the final play-in game. It's looking like Memphis should take it. Like you said, I don't think it matters. It should be a sweep by the Thunder. One of the best defensive teams that we've seen of all time. One of the most
Yeah,
efficient offenses we've
yeah.
seen. Neither of the other teams, Dallas or Memphis, have really any answers.
Agreed, Seth?
Yeah.
You know, it's nice though. We have five really great series and three duds. That's okay. 5 out of 8 ain't bad. And now, let's go to our end of season awards. I told you guys I'm just gonna list my all NBA teams and you can lambast me for them. You can critique me, you can drag me through the street, you can shame me like they did in Game of Thrones with Cersei. Go ahead. Okay? Here's my first team. Jokic.
What? Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous.
Jokic, Shea, Giannis, Tatum, Donovan Mitchell. Think we discussed briefly on the last podcast. Could Anthony Edwards be in there? I ended up going Donnie. Great team in the Cavs. 1 seed. He sacrifices for the team. We've been through it all. Second team, Anthony Edwards. LeBron James. Ever heard of him? Steph Curry. Evan Mobley. I ended up going Jalen Brunson for my last spot. I know he missed a couple games, but
He hits
he's
the
the engine of
criteria, it
that
doesn't
team.
matter.
Exactly. Third team. Here's where we may start to have some deviations. Cade Cunningham, Karl Anthony Towns, Tyrese Halliburton, your James Harden. And the last spot, those four actually were kind of set in stone for me. I'm not gonna lie. And I know I've been a notorious Harden, not hater perhaps, but certainly not on Kyle's level. But I think Harden, both Harden and Tyrese for me had to make it as just the engines of offenses of like 4 to 5 seeds. You know, I mean, like you got to hand it to them. They're running the whole offense. I ended up going with Jalen Williams, J-Dub, for my last spot. Second best player on a 68 win team. Really, he played center at times this year with Hardenstein out. He is one of their best defenders. Should maybe make an all NBA defensive team and carries the offense when Shea sits. But apologies to Zubac, to Jaren Jackson Jr., to the aforementioned Jaylen Brown, to Trae Young. Any one of those, you could make somewhat of a case if you squint like Seth is right now. But really, for me, it came down to J Dub or Zubac, to be honest. And I went J Dub. Now, go ahead, shame my name through the streets. I'm ready.
You
Go
didn't say
ahead.
Halliburton, right?
I
He
did.
did.
Oh, you did. Okay. I think
First
we
of
had
all,
all of the same players actually, and all of the same teams except for Steph. You had Steph on second. I did put him on third. I had Cade in his place.
Hmm. Honestly, if you have Cade in his place, I'm not gonna make that big of a stink about it.
I had Cade and Steph in second team. I had Mobley third, but I don't feel super strongly about it. In the
I think
middle
that's fine
there,
too.
kind of the end
Yeah.
of second team, start of third team, it's all pretty close. Um, First of all, you should be ashamed for pronouncing Zubats incorrectly multiple times.
Maybe you're not a close personal friend like I am because we have our 3 a.m. nightly calls
Hmm.
where he
He
calls me
probably doesn't pronounce
Skule,
his
I
last
call him
name for
Zubak.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a certain kind of flirtatious thing we have going on.
Hmm. Um,
But you have the same 15?
the question, yeah, is about. I also thought I'd like to give Zubats the nod, and then you start thinking about, okay, how much are we weighing team success?
Mm-hmm.
It's the age-old question. So, are you going to give it to the second best team or the second best player on a 50-win team or the second best player on a 68-win team? So, I think leaning toward J-Dub makes a lot of sense.
I think if we still had the positions, Zubac is
Yeah.
far and away the third best center in the league.
I don't know, far and away. I mean, Triple J is
You
right
can miss
there.
me with
He's
Triple
not
J, to
really
be
a
honest.
center though anymore now with ED anyways. I don't know what he's classified technically
Oh,
as, but I
good
don't think he's
point.
a center.
I wonder if he's played more minutes. He's
He's
probably
played
played more
way more
minutes at
minutes
power
as a power
forward.
forward this year. He has to
I
have.
don't think, yeah, I think you're right. In the old rules, I don't think you could even put him as a center.
That last spot, weirdly enough, that was the hardest decision for me too. Uh,
Yeah, I agree.
J-Dub, Zubac, and Şengün, I thought about hard, and
Oh,
I was like, it seems wrong to not have a player from a top two seed in
that's
either
a good point.
conference. And I looked
That's a good
back on it
point.
actually. There's actually only been two instances that I could find in the history of the NBA where a top two seed did not have any player on an all NBA team. Would you like to
Wow.
guess what those two teams may be?
So, how many instances you said? Two teams in the
Top
last how
two,
many
yeah, so
years?
top four, I guess, teams in the history of the NBA, actually.
You got to give
Really?
us like the
A
time
year
frame.
or an era?
All
Yeah.
right. One of them was in the 2020s, so in the last 5 years,
Really?
and the other one was the dec within the decade before the 2010s.
I'm gonna guess the Hawks were one of them.
Precisely, yeah. The 14-15 Hawks finished
Yeah.
first actually in the Eastern Conference that year. Not a single player made an All-NBA team. They had 60 wins.
And
Which
then
is
is that the year
interesting
that
because they
like
had
four of
four
them
All
made the All-Star
Stars.
team? Yeah.
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 Like you guys are good enough for top 30, but not top 15.
And that's what
Uh,
made me when I was thinking about this think like maybe I don't have to have Şengün because when you think about it, that Hawks team was
very
really
similar.
similar in the fact that like there was no really one player that drove anything. It was such a team effort, and that's exactly how I feel about this Houston team. Where
Yeah.
like it's obvious that Şengün is kind of like more or
He's the
less
offensive hub, right?
the
Yeah.
guy for the most part that kind of could do just about anything, but it's not overwhelming enough to say that like he's deserving of one of the top 15 spots.
Interestingly enough, too, did that Hawks team make the conference finals and lose to LeBron? Like I can't remember
I,
what their playoff run was.
I think so. Yeah,
But that
I
was
thought
such an easier East. I wonder if the Hawks can do a similar thing with the team first, construction, right? Like the West is so much tougher than the East was then. Could they make the conference finals with a similar type of team? I don't know. Okay, so the
other one
second team,
was yeah. Go ahead, try and guess if you'd like.
I was gonna
um,
guess, was there a Miami Heat year where Jimmy didn't play enough
mm-hmm.
to make All NBA?
Well, it had nothing to do with playing enough because I don't think that rule was in effect. But you're right.
Well,
It was the
but
Heat?
just in general, some people wouldn't vote for him
Yeah,
if
I
they.
didn't look. I guess I could go and look back and see how many games he played. The 21-22 season where the Heat were the number one seed. Not a single
Yeah.
person named to All NBA.
Look at that. We
I
got them
don't.
both, Seth. This
Yeah, that
is
was pretty
incredible
good
by
and
us.
fast.
Great
Yeah,
job.
man. We don't host a podcast for nothing. Tell you that much. All right. That was pretty amicable. No one shamed me for anything, really, and that's kind of surprising.
Your
Um,
pronunciation was the worst part of it.
I'll take that. Okay, MVP. There are two candidates with anyone with a brain. If your name is not Kendrick Perkins, there are two candidates. SGA and Nikola Jokic. As I said, Nikola Jokic averaging 30, 13, and 10. SGA averaging like 32, 6, and 6, basically. Their stats are very similar. Both are the offensive engine of their team. Both are top three in steals in the league. But obviously, SGA, as we know, is a great defender and part of the hub of the greatest defensive team in the league. On-off numbers are crazy for both players. I mean, Shea's team when he sits is +5, but when he's on the court, it's +17, which is insane. Jokic, he's only a +9 when he plays, but when he doesn't play, it's a -10. Okay, so you can see kind of how they both impact their teams. Um, Last time we were on this podcast, I said I would pick Jokic. I think I've been swayed the other way. I'm taking Shea. I just think when I look back on this season, which is one of Bill Simmons' stupid rules that he never adheres to,
Fuck
and
Bill
he
Simmons.
actually used it to argue for Jokic. I think when I look back at this season, I disagree with him. When I look back at this season, I'll remember OKC and Shea and one of the greatest seasons of all time, one of the best teams in history, a 68 win team with one of the best net ratings of all time. And when I look back at this season, I'm like, oh, Jokic had another 30, 10, and 10 season. Like, that's what he always does. Um, yes, the Nuggets had 50 wins, and yes, Jokic is the best player in the league, but I think Shea had the best season, and the Thunder went to a 68 win season, which has to be recognized, and Shea has to be recognized for being the offensive engine for that. And I don't really think it's voter fatigue at all if anyone votes for Shea. I think that these are two deserving candidates.
My only pushback on what you just said is that I feel like the reason you're not going to remember this season because of Jokic is because he's done it so many times before.
Well,
And
and
what
his
you
team
just
wasn't
said
very
about,
good, right? Like they struggled to 50 wins and their coach was fired with 3 games left in the season. Like I think that's a
well,
huge part of it too.
yeah, but like you just said, oh, another 30, 10, and 10 year for Jokic because it's not surprising when he does it. I'm not disputing that like OKC would be the thing that you remember from the season, but I think there is a even in your own logic just then, I think a little bit of that Jokic's history is seeping in a negative way.
But when a team has 50 wins and the other team has 68,
Yeah,
and
the way
you're a
the way
plus
I see the
17 with you on the
MVP
court, I
race,
mean, you know.
I mean the way I see it, and Zach Lowe kind of put it in these terms is okay, if two players have by anyone's measure MVP caliber seasons, and you're looking for a tiebreaker. For some people, the tiebreaker is going to be team record.
Hmm.
That's a legitimate tiebreaker. For some people, a tiebreaker is going to be who do you think is better? I lean more towards who do you think is better. Other people lean more towards team record. I'm okay either way. But that's why I would vote for Jokic because I think he has had the better season. And I think the evidence of that is that everyone recognizes that he's the best player in large part because of the season he's had. And it's not a situation where, yeah, everyone knows this person's the best player, but he had a little bit of a down year or whatever. He didn't have a down year at all. And I think the best player mostly should win MVP. But again, it's more of a tiebreaker than anything.
Kyle, too, I feel like part of it is, and I see both sides of this, but a part of it is like people argue that Jokic's supporting cast isn't as good, which is definitely true. Um, but
This
you
couldn't be
look
a
at the
knock on the player though.
right, and also you look at the Thunder, man. They were missing Chet for most of the year. They were missing Hardenstein. Like I said earlier, Jalen
Yeah.
Williams was playing center for a good part of the season, and just
Yes.
because Shea propped up those players to great success is not a knock on him. Like, yes, they have a deep team, but man, they were missing half their, 3 to 4 of their players a good portion of the year.
Yeah. As I was thinking about this too, obviously these are two of my favorite players in the league and have been for years at this point. I, the one reason I hate just MVP in general is the fact that it doesn't really differentiate when I think it should. Like, there's a difference between best statistical performance and the most valuable player. And in my opinion, again, like everything Sam's laid out, Shea is so valuable to the Thunder. You could look at on off, you know, statistics, whatever, but in the course of history, that's such a small sample size when we're looking at one season. We're looking at less than, a thousand minutes or something like that. But it's like I saw a graphic earlier just the other day that when you look at the most efficient offenses in the season, or most efficient lineups in the season offensively, with a minimum of 200 minutes played together, three of those lineups were Denver lineups with Jokic in them. Not a single one was with Shea. And the main reason for that is exactly what Sam said is there's been a lot of time missed by some really key contributors
Yeah.
within the OKC's team. I mean, Chet played 32 games,
Yeah.
Hartenstein missed 25 games. Even Jalen Williams missed 13 games, but because of that, no single lineup qualifies OKC to be within a top 10 efficient offense, yet they still won 68 games, all because of Shea. He had the best net rating of any player in the NBA in lineups where no other starter was on the floor.
Hmm.
Like, he carried
Well, they
everything.
also have a really good bench. So
Sure. But
But a
I
lot
mean,
of that is unlocked by him.
right, exactly.
Those guys can't
Like,
create by themselves.
he is the hub. Like, if you took Shea out of that and put J-Dub in,
Right.
that net rating for J-Dub isn't going to be anywhere near that. So
for
I don't
sure.
even think it is for Jokic. Thanks for the thumbs up. So I don't disagree that what Jokic did this year is historic, but I think there needs to be a differentiation between best statistical year and the most valuable player. And in my opinion, Shea this year was the most valuable player for a 68 win team.
These are the
Just
clearly the two most valuable players in the league and clearly the two best players in the league, which
I'd agree.
doesn't often happen, right? Like where we get this race like this where we all agree they're the two best players. And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in the playoffs. This is a regular season award and the playoffs don't matter, but could Shea take the mantle of best player in the league this season with a playoff run, right? Jokic, maybe he falls to the Clippers in the first round, which we all predicted through no fault of his own.
You didn't predict that, did you? Oh yeah, you said seven. That's right.
And then Shea goes on a run and wins the title and scores 30 a game in the playoffs. We might all look back at the end of the season like, oh shit, is Shea really the best player in the league because he he went on this run of playoffs. He's a defensive, force for this OKC defensive engine. I think that's a possibility, honestly. And that's just kind of the function of the playoffs, and that's kind of the give and take of the NBA, right, Seth?
yeah, I mean, it's all about the playoffs as it should be. That's the whole point of playing. So I think
I
Man,
that
it
saw
would,
it's a viable possibility.
I saw another really interesting graphic too, which kind of charted out like the win shares of a player compared to team winning percentage. And it was Jokic was nowhere near, obviously, their team winning percentage wasn't anywhere near OKC's. But he was accountable for more wins for Denver, which makes sense. But when you look at kind of who Shea's around in this chart, his season this year, it extremely similar to the 92 Jordan year, the 96 Jordan year, the Steph 2016 year, Larry
yeah.
Bird's 86 year. Like, it's a historic year. I mean, no matter how you take it. So,
Statistically, he's like, it's just Jordan and Steph, to be honest, like in the regular season. And again, we'll see in the playoffs, but like regular season wise, it's Jordan, Steph, him as far as guard seasons. Um, and we didn't even talk about this, but if the Nuggets do get past the Clippers first round, that's your second round series.
yeah, OKC in
Jokic,
five.
SGA, you can lock me, go ahead, lock me indoors for 2 weeks. I'm just watching that straight, right to
It
my
is
eyeballs.
almost it's almost a bummer that that's the case because just with the Clippers Nuggets series as our most intriguing series, and then it almost feels like it's a moot point. Like no matter what happens, they're gonna get blown out it one round
100%.
later. But
Yeah. All right. Is there any other awards you guys want to talk to? We're getting kind of late in the night. I don't feel too strong about any of these. I picked Mobley DPOY. I picked Castle Rookie of the Year. I picked Bickerstaff Coach of the Year. I picked Beasley Sixth Man. Anyone have any quibbles with any of those?
You took Beasley six man.
I just feel like if you're Klay Thompson coming off the bench, but I mean, Peyton Pritchard is certainly a worthy winner as well.
I ultimately ended up going Pritchard myself, but
I
I
have
see
no
the
qualms with
I
it.
see the arguments for both. But
Honestly,
you know
with
what I
all we
say
talked
to
about,
I have one thing to say to Malik Beasley.
What do you have to say to him?
Pritch, please.
I honestly think with all we talk about with the injuries of OKC too, like Dagnall, man.
I know it's so like he honestly probably should, but at the same time, they're also coming off the one seed just a year
Yeah.
ago. And then you
Honestly,
compare that to Bickerstaff, who took the literal, basically exact same roster with one upgrade at the trade deadline. But even still, when they made that trade, they were number one in the East.
Tripled their wins.
Yeah,
D Coach of the Year has almost become like a team most improved award, most improved team
Yeah.
award,
yeah,
Yeah.
that's about right.
which is
Well,
like
and yeah.
also kind of dumb, but
I mean, you
because
have
you
like
could,
five great candidates this year, like
yeah. I
Biggerstaff,
mean, Kenny
Atkinson,
Atkinson, yeah,
Dagnall, Udoka, Ty
yeah,
Lue,
all of them could
and you only
easily
get
make
three
the
on your
case.
ballot.
Yeah. So
I
I'm fine
struggled
with any
hard with
of
Defensive
those, to
Player
be
of the Year.
honest.
Yeah.
I
I
was
went
Mobley
Mobley.
the majority of the season.
What about
Even
Dort though?
through the exactly. I started thinking about Dort a lot more.
I
And I
Good
also
old Lug Dort.
like Dort. I ultimately ended up writing down in my notes app Amen Thompson as Defensive Player of the Year.
I don't hate it. I often feel like with Dort, I'm just like, does he actually just foul all the time and like they just can't call all of them and that like he actually just plays like Matthew Cornell on you basically and like yeah, he's good, but like it's a foul most of the time. Like that's what I kind of wonder about him.
I think, yeah, I think it's tough. I think both Dort and Amen Thompson are probably the scariest matchups for any individual player in the NBA. But I feel like Dort is limited to that. Whereas Amen Thompson, as I said
Help.
earlier in this, is
Yeah.
all over the court at all times. Like you're not safe from Amen if you're not being guarded by him. Whereas Dort, I feel like you more or less are. And ultimately, that's what swayed me. Mobley, again, I think in terms of big men, is probably the best defender that we have. But
Yeah.
at the same time, there's been points in the year where he's not been, he's been attackable, I guess.
Yeah.
But as a help defender, he's also extremely incredible. But as a point of attack defender, maybe he's not the greatest, but he also does get switched on to guards a lot, which makes it tough. So that's ultimately where I ended up with Amin Thompson being he's able to do it all no matter what position he's playing against, as well as even if he's not guarding a specific person, he's still there to defend them
Right.
as they drive to the rim as a help
I kind
defender.
of
It's
like that.
insane.
Maybe I'm going him on Thompson.
I like either Thompson or Dort. I know the history is it's usually a big man, but the way I keep thinking about this is I feel like either we should have two different awards, like interior and perimeter defender of the year,
Yeah.
or we should just it's almost like in fantasy football where most leagues the QB is always going to score the most points, but that doesn't mean they're the number one pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like just by virtue of being the position, I get it. You're more important to the defense because you're the last line. You need a rim protector, all of that. But it doesn't mean that you're the most skilled or the most talented defender. It's like I feel like it's so much more impressive to me what Amen Thompson and what Dort do than
Than what
Rudy
Rudy Gobert
Gobert.
does.
Yeah. And I
But
mean,
I think Mobley's better than Gobert. I don't
I
yeah,
know.
agree.
Mobley's more
Oh,
versatile.
100%.
He can hold his own on the perimeter as well. And some of the years when Wemby plays 65 games, it's not going to matter. You're just going to pick Wemby regardless. But that's all the more reason why in a non-Wemby year, we should take the opportunity to give one of these elite perimeter defenders their flowers.
Give them their flowers. I like
I
that.
agree.
Real quick, finals picks. I'm going OKC over Celtics. Suck it, Seth. You go down in the finals. Um, I mean, it's a historically good team, one of the best net ratings of all time. It would be kind of shocking if they didn't at least make the finals. And then once they're there, I think they're a great matchup against the Celtics, or if they see the Cavs there. I think Cavs will be easy money for them. Celtics will be a tough matchup, but I'm going OKC over Boston.
Kyle,
Seth?
OKC over Knicks.
Oh, no. He's going OKC over Cavs.
I'm going chalk right now, but let's revisit this
Ooh.
after round one. I could be swayed by the Knicks' performance. Yes, OKC over Cleveland currently is what I have.
Seth,
Which
Boston over
isn't
OKC is
exactly
what you're going to
chalk
say.
in for the one seeds, but
Yeah, betting
you know
wise,
what
it's
I'm
not the
thinking.
chalk for sure.
Yeah,
You're
I
picking
guess
Boston
chalk
over
in terms of
OKC.
standings.
Yeah.
I think I had OKC over Boston at the beginning of the year. Our listeners can roll back the tape to see.
I know I had Boston over OKC. So, but again, it's not like I'm going out on a limb.
Kyle definitely didn't have Cavs, but I'm not. I don't remember what he picked. Would have
I
been
might
Boston. It
have the
might have been
Knicks.
Knicks.
Honestly, it
Yeah,
might have been the Knicks.
yeah. All right. Well, that was the playoff Palooza, patent pending. I'm excited. I'm locked in. I'm torqued. I'm fully torqued for these NBA playoffs. They start tomorrow. Kyle, you'll get this pot off in time. I know you will.
Seth sends it to me. It's out by the morning.
Happy Easter. Happy NBA playoffs. Kyle, send our listeners off with something to think about on Easter weekend as they dye those eggs for the bunny.
Make sure you show up to Easter on Sunday with your Easter hams or hams special light. And just know that he has risen. He has risen indeed, and that is SGA as your finals MVP.